Today's episode is brought to you by FreedomProject Academy. Looking for a K-12 classical online school built on Judeo-Christian values? FPA is enrolling now for the fall. Request your free information packet at freedomforschool.com. That's freedom, F-O-R, school.com.
It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello, America and points beyond. Welcome to the Dr. Duke Show. Before we get started, you got to hit that share button so we can indeed educate as many patriots as we possibly can. Today, we are kicking things off with our international correspondent, the one, the only Alex Newman. Alex, so wonderful to be with you today.
Wonderful to be on. Thank you so much, Duke.
And you are writing some of the most significant pieces when it comes to how public schools are grooming our children and convincing young children not only that they are transgender, but that their own families wish to do them harm. Talk about this particular story.
Well, it's almost too crazy to believe, and yet I've seen the documents, I've talked to everybody involved, and I know it's true. The story in a nutshell, this little 12-year-old girl was in a public school, and she was asked to stay after school for an art club. And, art club, why not? Certainly. So she texted her mom, "Mom, can I stay for an art club?" "Oh, yeah, sure, sweetie." Anyways, long story short, turns out it wasn't just a regular art club. It was a GSA art club, which used to be a gay, straight alliance. Now I think they're like genders and sexualities alliance or something. So this lady, and actually I reached out to her for comment, and she didn't have any comments. She just barfed up a bunch of links from the federal government about how you need to affirm transgender children. But this lady asked the little girl, do you feel 100% comfortable in your body? And she's like, well, I don't know. Well, you're probably transgender. Here's some transgender stickers. Here's some transgender flags. And by the way, don't talk to your mom and dad about this. Your home is not a safe space. All this stuff. So she gives out her personal cell phone number to this little girl, tells her she's queer because she's not sexually attracted to anyone. So obviously the little girl, she knows better. She goes and tells her mom, this lady told me this and said that I wasn't supposed to tell you. So mom freaks out. They yank the daughter out of school. And then there's even a new part of this story, which wasn't revealed yet when we did that interview. And that is that the CPS then, this lady that was grooming this little girl, grooming as the mother, Erin Lee, put it, contemplated and actually suggested to the art teacher in question sending CPS to the house to do a child welfare check because they thought that the family might not be affirming the transgenderism or alleged transgenderism of this little girl. So folks, this is happening. This was in a conservative school district in a conservative area of Colorado, but this is happening nationwide, and you won't know it, mom and dad, until it's too late.
We have an edited down video version of what happened. Take a look at this.
One day, her trusted art and homeroom teacher invited her to stay after school for art club. So she texted us and we gave our permission. Of course, you can stay for art club. When she arrived in the classroom that day, she very quickly learned that it was actually GSA art club, or gender and sexuality awareness. And her trusted teacher had invited in an outside presenter to speak with the children. This presenter started with her number one rule: what you hear in here stays in here. She then brought out flags to describe different umbrella terms or defining words, as she called them, and how people feel under each of the flags. She explained to my daughter that if she is not 100% comfortable in her female body, then she's transgender. She then gave out flags, stickers, bracelets, and what she called the obligatory toys that kids love to collect everywhere I go. She then told the kids that parents aren't safe, and that it's okay to lie to them about where they are in order to attend this meeting and also future programming that she holds throughout the community. So this predacious stranger, it turned out, had absolutely no qualifications to be speaking with children about sexuality. She's not a licensed therapist or counselor. She's not a full-time teacher in the district. Her only qualification is that she was a lesbian that didn't have this kind of program when she was a kid.
First of all, it's amazing, isn't it, that the not just the license, but the complicity, the fact that their dishonesty now is being shared with children in a conspiratorial way, right? I don't know what's worse, trying with no real credentials yourself, trying to convince kids who simply show up for an arts class that somehow they're gay or transgender, or this conspiratorial, this is Fight Club, what happens here stays here, that I've got toys to make you happy, that everybody collects, that I'm going to keep coming around, and this is between us, and your parents need to know, and maybe we ought to, like you said, maybe we need to send Child Protective Services to this family to make sure that this little girl who for the first time in her life wandered into this by accident, that she's getting the affirming transgender love she deserves in the family home.
It's so outrageous, Duke. It boggles the mind. I mean, I've got a lot of kids, and one of the first things we teach them is if any stranger offers you candy, run. If anybody tells you not to tell your mommy and daddy something, you immediately tell your mommy and daddy. I mean, these are basic rules of child safety. Groomers and pedophiles, that's what they do. They use sexual terms with your children. They try to create a little bond that's outside of the parents' purview. They tell you can't trust your parents. Don't tell your parents. This is exactly what child predators do. So all of the alarm bells should have been ringing. All the red flags should have been flashing. But, it goes along with the story we just did a couple weeks ago here for Freedom Project, Duke, with Joe Biden saying they're all our children. And when those children are in the classroom, they're your children. They're not the parents. I mean, this is the attitude that they have. They're not your children, mom and dad. They belong to the government. And the government will do whatever they want. And they will even tell your child not to tell you. It's sick, it's criminal, and it needs to stop.
Yeah, and we've reached the point where the public schools have convinced themselves that they are the loving mothers and fathers who gave birth and sustained and paid for those children for the last dozen years, and that the family home is some kind of criminal activity zone. It is amazing, the hubris here. Alex, you're doing great work, man. You're bringing to light the most nasty, dark things. Keep doing it.
With all the censorship taking place on social media platforms, we've made it easy to keep up with your favorite content. Simply download the Freedom Project Media app in your app store. Get access to 18 new videos a week, plus thousands of archived shows, lecture series, and educational animations. Download the Freedom Project Media app on your Apple TV, Roku, tablet, or phone, and make sure you allow for notifications to keep you informed.
I don't have time nor money to waste, much like you probably don't. So just know your lack of money, time, and mental bandwidth for all of this nonsense can be summed up in one word: inflation.
I want every American to know that I'm taking inflation very seriously, and it's my top domestic priority.
Yes. Now stay tuned to the end of the video when I'll reveal the real inflation problem, which is more than money. But for now, you darn right better know that our fearless leader, Joseph Robinette Biden, is super serious about inflation. He's mostly super serious about who and what to blame.
I want us to be crystal clear about the problem. There are two leading causes of inflation we're seeing today. The first cause of inflation is a once-in-a-century pandemic. Not only did it shut down our global economy, it threw the supply chains and demand completely out of whack. And this year we have a second cause, Mr. Putin's war in Ukraine. We saw in March that 60% of inflation that month was due to price increases at the pump for gasoline.
Please reference any of the past 2 months of videos from me that indicate otherwise. Now that brings us to the question of the day. What has hit your pocketbook most with inflation? Food, gas, housing? You let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I hope you'd consider sharing this video because it may be the only thing in this economy still left that's, free. Plus, then, of course, you'd be helping me to feed my children because, you know what? Inflation has hit us, too. Now back to Mr. President here, who was crystal clear last week when he blamed everyone else but himself.
The previous administration increased the deficit every year it was in office, in part because of its reckless $2 trillion tax cut. Now you're tired of hearing me saying but a $2 trillion tax cut that was not paid for. And a tax cut that largely benefited the biggest corporations, 55 of which earned $40 billion in profits and paid not a single penny in income tax in 2020.
Not like those other people who were just, given money from the Biden administration and then given more money. And then for a third time given money. And all along, those people were like, why work? So they didn't. And then Joey made sure they got some more money.
With the American Rescue Plan and other actions, we started to grow the economy from the bottom up and the middle out. Rescue checks and tax cuts for working families that gave them just a little bit of breathing room and put food on the table and a roof over their heads. Remember the first year, all those long lines of automobiles lined up and going through a parking lot just to get a box of food in their trunk? We got vaccination shots in arms that helped us go from 2 million Americans who'd been vaccinated to more than 220 million Americans fully vaccinated.
Wow. Look at that pivot. We gave people money for everything. Shots in the arms. Since we're on the topic of foreign objects going into the body, before we go any further, Joe, please, give me the line. I need the line like Hunter needs his line.
We can do these things by making sure that no one earning less than $400,000 a year will pay a single penny more in federal taxes. All we're asking is that the wealthiest Americans and the largest corporations begin to pay their fair share, at least part of their fair share.
There's my fix. Now we can continue to blame everyone else for the high inflation rate, especially all of you horrible MAGA folk.
He's also not going to stand by and not call out what he sees as ultra MAGA behavior, ultra MAGA policies that are out of the mainstream of the country and are not in the interest of the American people. Whether that is efforts to prevent a woman from making choices about her own health care, or whether that is Chairman Scott's policy and proposals on that would raise taxes on people making less than $100,000 a year.
Mea culpa. Not just MAGA anymore. It's like Charmin now. It must be ultra MAGA. Tell me more, Joe, about how everything is now ultra, humongous, jumbo, king size, not just the mega MAGA, as you say.
Senator Rick Scott of Florida, United States Senator, who's leading the Republican National Senatorial Campaign Committee, released what he calls the ultra MAGA agenda. It's a MAGA agenda, all right. Let me tell you about this ultra MAGA agenda. It's extreme, as most MAGA things are. It will actually raise taxes on 75 million American families, over 95% of whom make less than $100,000 a year. Among the hardest hit, working families, kids with folks.
Those kids with folks. But that's not even the worst part.
I'm not making this up either. You ought to really think about this. It requires a vote, if it were to pass, every 5 years. The Congress would have to vote to reinstate or eliminate Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Social Security is something seniors have paid in for their whole life. And it has to be reauthorized? Has to be reauthorized every 5 years? Look, again, it's hard to make this up, but then again, it's a mega agenda.
It's hard to make this up. But it's harder to tell the truth and use common sense. Just ask Joe. He's one of those seniors who's paid into Social Security for his whole life. Except he hasn't done that because he's only worked for the federal government since dirt was invented, and so he didn't always have to pay Social Security. And if he decided to continue under the CSRS program, then he's still not. So calm the hysterics, sir.
I don't want to hear Republicans talk about deficits and their ultra MAGA agenda. I want to hear about fairness. I want to hear about decency. I want to hear about helping ordinary people.
He can't let it go. And that's why this week he did the same rigmarole in talking about how his administration is tackling inflation. But he did it with such poetics, it's almost like listening to Robert Frost.
As I said when I came to what Congress and the President can do to fight inflation, Americans have two potential paths forward. The first is my plan, the Democratic plan. Plan put forward by congressional Republicans is a second alternative. Which path is right for you and for your family and, quite frankly, for America?
Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Joe Biden wants you to believe the Democrats are taking you down a yellow brick road, and now I'm just mixing metaphors.
My plan is to lower everyday costs for hardworking Americans, and lower the deficit by asking large corporations and the wealthiest Americans to not engage in price gouging and to pay their fair share in taxes. The Republican plan is to increase taxes on the middle-class families, let billionaires and large companies off the hook as they raise prices and reap profits at record amounts. And it's really that simple.
I mean, when you put it that way, yeah, sure. Then I remember who said it, click my heels, and I return to reality where most of us live, including Senator Rick Scott, the evil one who Biden called out. Scott is saying that we've all been saying for months, and in the lead up to Biden's comments on tackling inflation, Scott released a statement. Let's be honest here. Joe Biden is unwell. He's unfit for office, he's incoherent, incapacitated, and confused. He doesn't know where he is half the time, he's incapable of leading, and he's incapable of carrying out his duties. Period. Everyone knows it, no one is willing to say it, but we have to for the sake of the country. Joe Biden can't do the job. Preach on, Senator. Now, specifically regarding Scott's plan, that's another topic to be debated for another video. The Republicans can fight amongst themselves for claiming they'll do something for the betterment of America. They're good at the talking part. We do know already back in March that Senate Minority Leader Mitch the Turtle said the Republicans would not back Scott's 11-point plan to rescue America. So Biden gaslighting on Scott's plan is pure politics. But back to Joe and his giggling.
The best thing, most effective thing Joe Biden can do to solve the inflation crisis he created is resign. He's the problem.
Resign.
The senator
That's
added
a good idea.
later, Joe Biden is unwell, he's unfit for office, he's incoherent, incapacitated, and confused. These are his words. Offering him a chance to respond to that.
I think the man has a problem.
In all seriousness, of course, Biden had a blistering response to Scott's assertion.
Look at their agenda. We'll put up on a webpage somewhere, I think I can do this, the Scott plan. It's in writing.
Yeah, make that website using the laptop that everyone has been talking about. Just get Hunter to help you. Or get your friends in the media where you just giggle with one another. Remember this gem from a hot second ago?
These people have been so hard on you, which I don't get. I really don't. You know, I think ever since you've come into office, things are really looking up. You know, gas is up, rent is up, food is up, everything.
The media continues doing its part to cover for Biden's lies, coming out with pre-written articles that insert the pre-approved talking points. The Washington Post was kind enough to report that gas prices are reaching record highs as Biden says the global forces are to blame, along with it being the Republicans' fault. And in the words of one Severus Snape, always. Always it's the Republicans' fault. And it should be considered always, because always, but really never, have the gas prices been this high. Since AAA started tracking national gas prices in 2000, never has the average price of gas been $4.40. But here we are. Huzzah! And for you Californians, it's just $1.54 higher than the national average. Now, I'll do the math since that's not taught in California schools anymore. $5.94. Taking a look-see at how these prices have changed since, Joe took office, all we have to do is, wait for it, take a look. We're at $4.40 right now, which is up from $4.22 a week ago, which is up from $4.11 a month ago, which is up from $2.98 a year ago. And that's up from when Orange Man Bad was in office. But it's those Republicans. Always. And now what you've all been waiting for. During question time of Joe's inflation explanation, Joe said the quiet part out loud about how he views all of us, because he believes that he owns us.
Look, most people, the vast majority of Americans are hoping that their government just takes care of the problem and they don't have to think about it in detail at the kitchen table or at the dinner table. And that's understandable no matter what their background.
And that's the real inflation. Every comment, every argument, everything out of his mouth is inflated. No, the vast majority of Americans don't want the government to take care of their problems. They want the government to get out of the way because they are the problem. Yet, here's Joe inflating his lies and his ego. Maybe someday I'll have better news to report, but for now, this is Inflation Station. Still, we must focus on the good, and that's our faith, family, and friends. So stay focused, and please share the video to let everyone know about the truth of inflation. Until next time, stay healthy, America.
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on all items at MyPillow.com when you use the code Dr. Duke. That's DRDUKE. Support this show by supporting a great American company.
All right, before we wrap things up, I just wanted to say that this show and all of our programming at Freedom Project is made possible thanks to our Patriot Club donors. If you enjoy our content, please consider a donation to financially support what we're doing here. We're really proud of it. We want to produce 18 videos at least every single week to keep you informed. And it all costs money to produce. Please consider supporting us with a tax-deductible gift, and as a token of our great appreciation, we will send you one of our trademark American Patriot tumblers. Simply visit patriotclub.us to show your support. That's patriotclub.us. And that's going to do it for us this time. I'm Dr. Duke. Until next time, please stay educated, my friends, for the good of the country.